Your Rangers and the Los Angeles Angels begin their second series in a week's time. And tonight's opener provides an intriguing pitching matchup. The Angels' Garrett Richards looks to find his way back to form after knee surgery, making his second start of the season. Veteran Wandy Rodriguez makes his Rangers debut, and the lefty looks to recapture the form that made him a perennial all-star. From Southern California, it's the Rangers and the Angels next. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT&T Universe TV. It is a cloudy, cool evening here in Anaheim. Angel Stadium is decided, and the Angels decided to make this fleece blanket night. And they picked a good one because it is cool. The Rangers and the Angels getting set to match up in the first of three over the weekend. And welcome into this Friday night of Ranger Baseball, everyone. With Tom Grieve, I'm Steve Busby. Glad you could join us. Rangers looking to get back on the winning side of things, and they had to dig deep to find tonight's starter, going back to 36-year-old Wandy Rodriguez, Tom, making his first start tonight.
Well, Wandy Rodriguez, Buzz, for a long time has been kind of the definition of a solid third or fourth starter. He's been a solid major league pitcher. The left-hander who throws strikes. He's got good off-speed pitches. In his career, he's about a 500 pitcher. His ERA is a little bit over 4. He had a 3 or 4 year stretch with the Astros where his ERA was about 3.4, 3.5. He's several years removed from that. He's had some injury problems the last couple of years, but he's healthy right now. Jeff Bannister knows him well from Pittsburgh. Yep. He's comfortable with him. Feels good about having a veteran in his rotation.
Yeah, the Rangers usually lose a little pick-me-up from their starting staff also. They'll try to get it done this weekend against the Angels, who, as we mentioned, are struggling offensively also. Now, Jeff Bannister and the Texas Rangers getting set to take on the Los Angeles Angels. We'll have everything coming up for you right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Ford dealer. The EcoBoost Challenge is on at your Texas Ford dealer. Get to your best in Texas Ford dealer today. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Oh, a cloudy, cool night here in Southern California. The crowd coming in bundled up against the chill. And Tom Grieve now will show you the Texas Rangers starting lineup, brought to you by Southwest Airlines.
Well, the Rangers again will go with Leonys Martin in the leadoff spot. He's had a terrific road trip. Mitch Moreland will play first base and move up to the second spot in the lineup. The DH is next, Prince Fielder, followed by Adrian Beltre, the third baseman. Shin-Soo Choo bats fifth in right field. Elvis moves up to the sixth spot in the lineup. He'll play shortstop. Second baseman Rougned Odor bats seventh. Jake Smolinski is in left field. And tonight's catcher and batting ninth is Carlos Corporon.
And the Rangers tonight facing one of the hardest throwing pitchers in the American League. That would be Garrett Richards. Garrett Richards trying to come back from that terrible knee injury he suffered last year. Our scouting report on Richards, and first time out on April 19th, he had a very good fastball. Command a little bit shaky, which you would find acceptable. He throws as hard as any American League starter. And against him tonight in just his second start, Ranger hitters would do well to be very patient against the 26-year-old right-hander to see if he's regained the touch on his off-speed pitch. Basically a fastball, hard curveball type pitcher. And when he is on, he can be as tough as anyone. He was 13-4 last year up through the first part of August when he hurt that knee and had to miss the rest of the 2014 season. So he is back out there tonight. And let's take a look at the Angel defense behind him tonight. It's presented by Steel. Outfield of Cowgill, Trout, and Calhoun. They cover a lot of ground out there in the Angel outfield. Pujols at first, Giovotella and Ibar up the middle. David Freese at third. And the veteran backstop, Chris Iannetta, handles the catching chores. Well, the Rangers come in a half game behind the Angels. Rangers are tied for fourth in the AL West. They are 6-9. Angels at 7-9, having played yesterday and won despite having only one hit in the game against the Oakland A's. Here's Leonys, batting average up to 238, and he takes a 95-mile-an-hour fastball for strike one. Martin, no home run, 6 driven in. Tries to bunt and bunted through it, it appears. That is strike two. Jim Reynolds calling the balls and strikes tonight, and he signaled that right fist up. Talked about Leonys Martin, what he has done on this road trip. He has hit safely in all 5 games on this trip for the Rangers. .429 average, and couldn't quite get much of that breaking ball. He stayed alive. 62 degrees here at game time. Breeze negligible, maybe drifting out toward left field, but a pretty damp night here in Southern California. Iannetta flashing the signs out. And now Leonys Martin says, no, I'm tired of waiting. Now Richards has the one he wants. Pretty good fastball up at 96, and Martin fouls it back. One thing we know about Leonys, if you give him a fastball, he can tune his swing up to catch up with almost anybody. Garrett Richards going up with that last one out of the strike zone. There's that hard breaking ball. Now 1-2 to Martin.
The other thing about Richards, Buzz, with that hard 95-mile-an-hour sinking fastball, he hardly ever gave up a home run last year. He only gave up 5 home runs in 168 innings. It's hard to get that ball up in the air with any authority. It's like very heavy ball he throws.
Yeah, some people would liken it hitting a shot put.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it feels like to the hitter on occasion. You hit it off the handle, hit one of those weak ground balls. That's pretty much just what it feels like.
2-2 now the count. Right-hander nods and goes into the wind. Got him swinging. Hard breaking ball down and in, that back foot hook. And Jonas Martin down. That's how the ball game begins here tonight with a strikeout.
Yeah, that last pitch is 97 miles an hour. I guess it's a cutter, but it looked like almost like a big slider. It broke so much.
From up here, it did.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. I thought it was a breaking ball. Look up at the scoreboard and saw it was 97 miles an hour. You get that kind of movement on that kind of velocity, man.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of hitters that would say that should be illegal.
Yeah, that pitch is unhittable.
You get it down there, it is. And the owners found that out. Well, here's Mitch Moreland. Mitch relegated to pinch hitting chores in Arizona. Rangers, of course, didn't have the DH available to them, the National League rules. So Mitch came off the bench, went 1 for 2 as a pinch hitter. And he takes low and in. Getting the start at first base tonight, batting second. Mitch at .290 for the season. He has gone 3 for 12 in his career against Garrett Richards. And Iannetta out there to talk to the right-hander from Edmond, Oklahoma. He was born out here in Los Angeles, but grew up, went to high school, and went to college in Oklahoma. University of Oklahoma Sooner. 2-0 pitch. Now 3-0. So Mitch trying to get aboard. He is being, as we mentioned, patient against Garrett Richards. Prince Fielder waits to be next. Rangers would love to see Prince come up with somebody on base. 3-1 now. Rangers, before the off day, I should say, yesterday, split the 2-game series with the Diamondbacks as Mitch takes the walk, so he is aboard with 1 out, and Prince Fielder coming up.
Richards walked 4 batters in his first start of the year. Rangers are coming off a game in which the opposing starter, Archie Bradley, had severe control problems early in the game. He hit a batter and walked several guys early in the game. Rangers couldn't get that hit in the first inning to kind of break the game open a little bit early. But they had some base runners because of the walks.
Fielder up the middle. Giavotella underhands to Ibar. The jump throw, and they got him. Oh, a great double play turned by Giavotella on Ibar. And the Rangers are gone. No runs, no hits, and nobody left. After a half inning, Rangers nothing. Angels coming up. Starting lineup for the Angels that Wandy will face tonight.
The Angels will lead off Cole Calhoun in right field, followed by Mike Trout and Albert Pujols. David Freese, the third baseman, bats fourth. Eric Ibar bats fifth as shortstop. The DH, C.J. Cron, is sixth. Colin Cowgill, Chris Iannetta, and Johnny Giavotella round out the lineup 7, 8, and 9.
And on the hill, 36-year-old left-hander Wandy Rodriguez making his first American League start, or first start as an American League pitcher. Representing the Rangers, of course, he has fastball, curveball, changeup, and he's also added a cut fastball. He'll work with that. He gets a lot of ground balls when he is on. He keeps the ball down well, changes speeds well, and you need to keep a close eye on him if you're Mike Maddox and Jeff Bannister. As he gets into the fourth or fifth inning, that pitch count is going to be all important. I'm telling you in advance when you might be able to get him out of the ballgame, because stamina is going to be a problem for Wandy, who hasn't worked much. He worked 7 innings in the minor leagues and at Round Rock after signing a minor league deal with the Rangers. The Atlanta Braves released him at the end of spring training. So from the end of spring until last week, didn't have a lot of work. And that pitch high, so Cole Calhoun draws the leadoff walk.
We're talking about the Angels having trouble scoring runs just like the Rangers have. Calhoun was off to a pretty good start. He's been hot lately. His last 30-plus at-bats, he's hitting about 340. He's a pretty solid leadoff guy. He's got a little bit of power, runs pretty well. Played well against the Rangers last year, too.
Well, here's Mike Trout with Calhoun at first. Trout, one of the few Angels that is up over 300 with the batting average. In the starting lineup, Trout and Giavotella, the only two Angels with a plus 300 batting average. Trout's, as you saw, at 316. 3 home runs, 9 driven in. 0-1 pitch. And that is a high strike. It's 0-2. Hey, Mike Trout's going to have a problem if that's going to be called a strike on him tonight.
Yeah, it looked like, kind of top of the strike zone, inside strike. There it is, right there. That's pretty much where you want to pound him all day long.
You'll find a lot of umpires hesitate to make that call, especially against a good hitter. They tend to favor the low strike over the high strike. 0-2. Rodriguez back to him. Now a ball and 2 strikes. Well, Mike Trout, 6 out of 12 against the Rangers in that series played in Arlington a week ago. Cut fastball down and in. It's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Rodriguez didn't have that pitch several years ago, but remember when Andy Pettitte came down to the Astros and pitched, and Rodriguez was part of the Astros staff. He learned that cut fastball from Andy Pettitte. And if you're going to learn from somebody, that's a pretty good guy to learn from, because he had a dandy, and it looks like Rodriguez has come up with a dandy. There's a breaking ball, maybe a double play grounder. Turning it at second, Odor, they get the 6-4-3 twin killing. Nicely turned, because Trout gets down that line in a hurry.
The first curveball that Wandy had thrown, I'm sure that fooled Trout a little bit. He'd seen either a fastball or a cut fastball, and so had Cole Calhoun. He drops a pretty good curveball outside part of the plate. Worked a little bit like a changeup. Got Trout out in front of it. The only question would be, was it hit hard enough for the Angels to have time to turn it? There's the answer, plenty of time.
17th double play of the year turned by the Ranger infield. The base is empty and 2 outs for Albert Pujols. And this is a matchup that is very familiar to both Pujols and Wandy Rodriguez. At 46 at-bats prior to tonight. Rodriguez has had pretty good success, though, against Pujols. This one popped up. Mitch Moreland has a play. And a step into foul territory, puts it away, and that'll do it. So the leadoff walk taken care of by the double play. We finished 1 in Anaheim. No score. defending American League champion Kansas City Royals will be treated to the first T-shirt giveaway of the season. The first 15,000 fans will get a red Rangers T-shirt, compliments of Dr. Pepper and CVS. Visit TexasRangers.com/tickets, or as always, you can call 972-RANGERS today. Rangers come to bat now in the top of the second inning. Scoreless ball game. Each team with a walk and a double play turned against them, or for them, depending on what way you're looking at it. Here's Adrian Beltre. Takes that hard fastball in for strike one. Adrian at 183, although he did have a two-hit game on Wednesday night in Arizona and hit the ball hard several times in that contest, and hopefully that'll get him going. He had his second home run of the year. Also had a very solidly hit single. And, of course, against the Angels, Beltre, since 2013, has been on a tear, a .335 average. The 0-2. Broken bat hopper out to Gio Vitelli. One gone.
I'll tell you, that fastball, that cut fastball that he's throwing, and you have to, even though the velocity is 95 or 96, it's got enough movement where you have to call it a cut fastball, don't you?
Yeah, you can almost call it a slider. But I'm not going to call something that's 97 miles an hour a slider.
No, that's right up there with the cut fastball Mariano Rivera used to throw.
Yep. You're going to have a lot of bats react the same way to it. You shatter right in half. So one out. Here is Shin-Soo Choo. 128 the average for Choo. Waiting for him to catch fire. He's had pretty good success against Garrett Richards over the years. You saw the numbers on your screen.
Now, what does he do to throw that? Just hold it a little bit off center and just throw it like a fastball?
Yeah, that's how I've taught it, Tom. There are variations for it, but it's basically a four-seam fastball that you just that turns the seam a little bit, and
you're not trying to make it curve like a breaking ball.
The big thing, to me anyway, about a cut fastball is it is a fastball first.
Right.
In other words, you want good velocity on it, and you want to finish the pitch off. It's not like it's not a feel pitch. But off center just a hair so that you get more ball on the on one side of your hand, so that the ball naturally is going to cut that way. But to be able to throw it that hard, most of the time guys will learn how to throw a cut fastball, and it'll be about the same speed as a two-seam fastball, or 2 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour slower than a four-seam. That's not the case for Richards. I mean, that thing is devastating.
You see, some guys call it a cut fastball. You can call a pitch whatever you want, I guess. They call it a cut fastball. It's really a slider because it's, 4 or 5 miles an hour less. But this thing.
And they're putting side spin on it for that kind of a cut fastball.
Right.
Back to the plate, and that up and in, and Choo overmatched. Second strikeout for Richards, 2 gone. And Elvis Andrus coming up. Well, I'm not sure. I know it's early in the ball game. I'm not sure we have seen Garrett Richards throw any better than this against the Rangers.
Yeah, it's pretty much the velocity you would expect. He averaged 96 miles an hour last year. That's pretty much what he's throwing right now.
And last year against the Rangers, he was perfect, 4-0. They just were not able to do a whole bunch against him. Elvis takes that first pitch high for ball one. Andrus at 188, a home run and 6 RBI.
Yeah, if Richards didn't get hurt last year and he finished the season strong, he was a strong candidate for Cy Young Award.
Right.
He was in the top 10 in almost all categories. Hardest to hit, ERA, wins, innings, strikeouts.
And the way the Angels finished the year last year, playing extremely well, and 13 wins in the 1st of April or August, you would figure he'd probably be a candidate to win 20 games.
Yeah.
Mike Scioscia's club, the most wins in the American League last year in Major League Baseball, 98 of them. Scioscia, of course, manager of the Angels since 1999. Elvis plugging that gap into left center. He's going to be standing at second with a 2-out double. Well, there was one that Richards got up, and Elvis Andrus with his 3rd double of the year in scoring position with 2 outs.
Elvis is still only hitting 188 coming into the game, so he's struggling a little bit. But I think this is a pretty good example that he's able to do something with a bat he couldn't do last year. That's a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. It's up and on the inside part of the plate, and he's able to get the good part of the bat on it and drive it in the gap. That's what he's shooting for this year, to be able to do that more often. Hasn't been consistent with the new approach, but that's an example of hopefully it becomes more consistent, because I don't think he could have hit a ball like that last year.
That's what I was going to ask you. Could he have done that at all last year?
I don't think so.
Rougned Odor takes strike one.
I think that's a ball with 2 strikes he probably would have been fighting off and maybe looping a base hit to right field or popping up to right field, but driving it and pulling it to the left of second base, I don't think he could have done that last year.
Odor snapped a pretty long hitless streak, 0 for 17 when he got a base hit on Wednesday. Pitch fouled back. And talking about Elvis, we'll take a look at the Ford leaderboard. How about a career at this ballpark for visiting hitters? Joe Mauer leads the way with a 364 average. Elvis down there in 6th place at 318. Some pretty good hitters in there that Elvis is keeping company with. No balls and 2 strikes to Rougned. Now 1-2. Odor on this trip, just that one hit in 18 times to the plate. And against Richards, a small sample, 1 for 6. I mentioned Odor, that single on Wednesday. Snapped an 0 for 17. Hey, you still reached base in all but 4 games this year for the Rangers, either by a hit or hit by pitch or a walk. Still 1-2. Hard to remember sometimes that Odor still is just 21 years of age. I mean, he plays the game like a pretty seasoned veteran. Runners in scoring position. Rougned, along with virtually everybody else on the Ranger club, having a tough time with runners in scoring position. Elvis out there at second with 2 outs here in the second. Richards, a long look into Iannetta. Now the right-hander's ready. Got him swinging. Sharp breaking ball down and in. Richards has 3 strikeouts. Rangers get a hit, but strand a runner after 1.5. Rangers nothing, Angels nothing. Fox Sports Southwest. Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. The EcoBoost Challenge is on at your Texas Ford dealer. Get to your best in Texas Ford dealer today. Angel Stadium, comfortably cool night. Now that you get a lot of folks in the ballpark and things heat up a little bit, get those fleece blankets that are being given away tonight, put them to good use. Scoreless ball game. We head to the bottom of the second inning. And Wandy Rodriguez first pitch to David Freese is strike one.
Well, I would say that Wandy Rodriguez made a nice comeback after walking Cole Calhoun on 4 pitches. Got 3 outs on about 4 more pitches.
I would think there were probably a few butterflies in Wandy's
That's what it looked
stomach
like
before this whole thing.
That's what it looked like.
Tried the breaking ball and left it outside. Ball and a strike. Wandy from the Dominican Republic goes back to work and misses down and in. 2-1 to Freese. David Freese, a 246 average. But he has started to pick things up. 300 in his last 8 ball games. And already doing more damage than he did last year in the early going for the Angels. Takes that pitch off the plate. It's now 3 balls and a strike. So Freese trying to get aboard to start the second for the Angels. Eric Ibar, the shortstop, will follow. Pop foul back over our heads and out of play. Now look quickly, let's take a look at the Ranger defense delivered to you by DeMontron RV. Outfield tonight with Smolinski in left field. Leonis Martin in center, Shin-Soo Choo in right. Moreland at first, Odor and Andrews up the middle, Beltre at third, and Carlos Corporan is catching. A good fastball there on the fists of Freese, who fought it off back into the seats. It's a full count. Jeff Bannister has seen his ball club pretty much on a roller coaster as far as wins and losses. They have not been able to put together back-to-back wins this season yet. Got him swinging. A little extra mustard and 91 miles an hour up, and Freese couldn't catch up. One gone.
Yep, well located. If you're going to get a guy to swing at it, you throw it up and away like that. Pretty good pitch to get a swing and a miss at. Elevated it a little bit out of the strike zone. Got him to chase it.
No wonder he gets his first punch out as a Ranger. Eric Ibar now, the switch hitting shortstop up there. 0-1 on the foul ball. Ibar, a 196 average to start the season. No home runs, 4 driven in. Little tapper foul. And now Wandy in front very quickly at 0-2.
That's a nice curveball he's throwing tonight. Go along with his fastball.
And you can remember back to his days with the Astros, and he was basically a fastball, curveball kind of pitcher, a finesse left-hander, if you will. But that cut fastball's added a lot for him. That one right there. The ability to get in on right-handers, and that was something he didn't have a whole lot of success consistently doing as when we saw him anyway with the Astros. Had trouble getting that ball into right-handers and keeping it in there. Natural tailing action would come back over the plate. But now with a little cut on it, he's able to get it into a right-hander and have it stay in there. Goes up the ladder and a little bit too high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Wandy Rodriguez, 10 wins or more in 5 different years for his major league career. Misses outside of that.
His best stretch was with the Astros, 2009, 10, 11. At a 3.3 ERA, averaged almost 200 innings over those 3 years. Boy, that's a hard curveball to lay off of.
Sure is.
Ibar had to use his whole body to keep from swinging at that curveball.
Crew Chief Fielding Culbreth down there at first asked to render a ruling, and he said no swing. Well, the count now is full to Ibar. We'll try it again. Now, Rodriguez last year, in the last couple of years with the Pittsburgh Pirates, that's where Jeff Bannister got a very close look at him. Came over there in the middle of 2012. last year with the Pirates. Some injury problems, finally released, cut loose by the Pirates, middle of the year. Elvis, a 360 on the run. The throw is in the dirt, and Mitch can't come up with it. Now, Ibar is aboard. A beautiful play by Elvis just to get to that ball, and then the complete spin and throw, and Mitch not able to come up with an in-between hop, and that's going to be a base hit for Ibar.
Yeah, Elvis has to go quite a ways to his left. Ibar gets down the line pretty well, so he really doesn't have time to get his body under control to make the throw. Flipped it over there and would have taken a nice scoop by Mitch to convert that play. Looked like the throw would have been there in time if he was able to do it.
Well, the first base hit against Rodriguez tonight. 1 on, 1 out, and C.J. Cron, the designated hitter, takes a knee-high strike. Cron off to a slow start. 154 with a home run and 3 driven in. You'll remember he got his first base hit of the year after an 0 for 14 as he started the season. And that was down at Arlington. Pitch in the dirt and going to second base, Ibar. A throw by Corcoran. And a great play by Rougned Odor to keep that ball from going into center field.
Yeah, that's a throw Carlos probably would rather just not even make. You got no chance to get the runner going to second, so just hang on to the ball. Otherwise, you risk tossing it into center field and letting him get to third. The minute that ball went in the dirt, Ibar was off.
Going to be a wild pitch. Charged to Wandy Rodriguez. Ibar now in scoring position with 1 out. 1-1 pitch to Cron. Look out. That ball rifled over in front of the Angel dugout off the screen, the protective screen.
You don't expect to get one over there from a right-hand hitter. Right where Mike Scioscia stands.
Well, you don't expect that. There's Scioscia, who
not giving much of a target. He's getting down low.
Yeah. Normally pretty stoic. And he's a little less stoic now. Heart rate is probably up, elevated a bit. Now it's back down. Doesn't take him long. 1-2, the count to Cron. A good pitch in on the fist. Cron fouls it off. Get another look at that last foul. Coming right at you, Mike Scioscia. Look out.
That's about as far as you can actually pull a ball as a right-hand hitter. I don't think you can get one much more to the left of that.
There's one even further. That wasn't hit quite as hard. Remember Keith Marshall?
Keith
with
Marshall?
Us back in the 80s.
No.
Outfielder.
My memory only goes back to about 89, 91.
Right-handed hitter. He cleaned out the Angel dugout on 5 consecutive foul balls one night. Just ripping the ball into the Angel dugout. And he finally got everybody to leave the dugout and went back. That was
David Hulse, wasn't it?
No. Hulse was left-handed hitter. Marshall was a right-handed hitter.
No, I don't remember that.
1-2. And poked out of play again. Wandy. A lot of good pitches to Cron. Cron is spoiling a lot of good pitches. Eric Ibar at second after the infield single and advanced on a wild pitch. 2-2. Rodriguez, as we mentioned, making his first start as an American leaguer tonight. He's had matchups with only 4 Angels. And Cron bangs one through the hole into left field. Ibar had to make sure it was going to go through. So he stops at third. But Angels now have runners at the corners and 1 out with Colin Cowgill coming up.
Well, Cron, he's only hitting 154, but he had success against the Rangers last year, and he had success in that at bat. He saw some pretty tough pitches from Wandy Rodriguez. Got a pitch Almost the same pitch that struck out David Freese. He's able to pull that high outside pitch on the ground into left field. Fortunately, Ibar had to hold up, couldn't score. Maybe Cowgill hit a ground ball, get Wandy right out of the inning.
Yeah, a nice little double play would go very well here in the second inning. Cowgill, a 171 average. Takes that strike on the outer corner. A home run, 2 driven in. Only 3 matchups against Wandy Rodriguez before, and he has yet to have a hit. Rangers a double play depth up the middle. And strike 2. Cowgill only 6 hits this year, but 3 of them have gone for extra bases. Able to stay alive on that breaking ball from Rodriguez. 0-2. Our T-Mobile game changer. Colin Cowgill against the Rangers last year, or since last year, I should say. 14 games, he has averaged 400 with a 10.59 on base plus slugging and 4 steals. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You're talking about pitch count, Buzz, for sometime after the 4th inning. He's already right now with only 1 out at 38 pitches in the second inning. So probably not going to be a long outing for Wandy today.
Yeah, and it's not like he's extremely wild. The Angels have just fouled off a lot of pitches and been very, very patient. There's one in the dirt. Nice stop by Corcoran. And the count evens at 2-2.
Boy, I don't think it really matters whether it's Robinson Chirinos back there or Carlos Corcoran. That one came up and looked like it got him underneath the chin, but the way that the mask extends down low might have kept that from hitting him right in the Adam's apple. That used to be a huge problem in the old days.
Yeah.
Catchers used to have to really concentrate on keeping their chin down.
Another one down there. And the count now is full. Well, we will see with 1 out whether C.J. Cron is off and moving with the next pitch.
Nice job with a man on third base blocking a ball that's way out in front of the plate. Not an easy one to block either.
Cowgill hitting 7th in the order. The catcher, Chris Iannetta, is waiting to be next.
Buzz, you're talking about foul balls. Brian passed me a note. The Angels have fouled off 10 pitches in this inning alone.
Wow.
And most of them have been on pretty good pitches. It's not like they're getting fastballs right down the middle, taking huge swings. They've been good curveballs down, fastballs in, just barely getting a piece of them.
And Rodriguez, just that little toss to first to tell Cron that he'd not forgotten about him. Payoff pitch, got him swinging.
Changeup.
A straight changeup on 3-2 and got the big strikeout of Colin Cowgill. There are 2 gone.
He's got a pretty good changeup. I don't know that he's thrown more than a couple tonight. That's the first one I can remember. But Cowgill was almost 100% sure that this was a fastball. Took a big swing at it and just wasn't ready for it. Hadn't seen it yet. I don't think he'd seen it and throw it to anyone else either. Big strikeout, though, 1st and 3rd, and 1 out.
Well, here's the veteran Angels catcher, Chris Iannetta. 1 ball, no strikes. Iannetta only 1 at bat against Rodriguez, despite being in the National League for a number of years with Colorado. 0 for 1 in that particular at bat. Rodriguez trying to dispose of Iannetta to get rid of the Angels in this inning. Good fastball, and that evens the count at 1 ball and a strike. Iannetta really struggling offensively this year at 114. No home runs. He has not driven in a run. He's down in the count now. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Wandy Rodriguez has given up a couple of hits. He's had to use a lot of pitches in this inning. We'll see what kind of toll that takes on him as the game wears on. They're trying to get Iannetta to end this frame. Just missed the fastball.
Didn't get the call, but that was an excellent pitch.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Just like a pitcher wanting that pitch about 8 inches inside.
Well, just in case.
I don't blame him.
Always ask for it. The worst thing you can do is say no. Iannetta taking his time getting back in. Second most walks by an American League catcher since 2012. Takes that pitch low, and the count is now full. So with 2 outs, Cron will be off and moving from first base for the next pitch. Iannetta hitting 8th, trying to get aboard Johnny Giavatella. The second baseman waits in the on-deck circle.
Iannetta's not hitting much, obviously. 114. He still walks a little bit, though. He's walked 6 times. That last changeup would get a lot of guys to fish for it. But Iannetta's a pretty selective hitter.
Cron on the move. The pitch is called strike 3.
A little too selective.
Knee-high fastball. Iannetta sent packing. Angels gone, no runs, 2 hits and 2 left. On to the third, still scoreless in Anaheim. On Wednesday, April 29th, Rangers take on the division rival Seattle Mariners. Come on out to Globe Life Park for one of the games in late April. One of the last games in late April, I should say. And enjoy ballpark hot dogs for just $1 each. Visit TexasRangers.com for tickets, or you can call 972-RANGERS. Jake Smolinski stepping in to begin the third inning. Nice job of pitching by Wandy Rodriguez. Ended up striking out the side in the second. Stranded 2 runners. Runners at first and third. The first threat by really either ball club in this game. Smolinski takes a fastball from Garrett Richards for strike 1. Jake hitting 115 for the year. A home run and 3 driven in. Richards back to him.
Buzz, let me ask you another question. This may be a dumb question, but If you can make your fastball cut like that, a couple inches, and maintain the same velocity as your four-seam fastball, the movement has to make it tougher to hit. That's pretty much a given, right?
I think so, yeah.
Provided you got the same command of it as your other fastball.
Right.
It must be a pretty tough thing to throw. Otherwise, wouldn't you see more guys trying to do it?
Well, you went through a spell where a lot of guys were trying to throw cutters, and many of them evolved into a bad slider.
Yeah. They were trying to make it curve.
They were trying to put spin on it to make it move.
Right.
And that really defeats the whole theory behind a cut fastball.
Right.
And so I think a lot of pitching coaches went away from teaching that or suggesting that to people.
Yeah.
Esteban Loaiza came up with that good cut fastball one year, and the next year it was bigger, and it didn't work nearly as well for him.
Yeah.
Same guy, same stuff, didn't work quite as well, so he went away from it. And Smolinski draws that walk to get aboard, starting off the Ranger third inning. Carlos Corcoran now will come to the plate. And I think what's in vogue this year might change next year if it doesn't work quite as well. And that's the truth with the slider, with the cut fastball.
Well, I don't know why Richards would go away from it unless for some reason he lost it. But it sounds like it doesn't require anything major to make the ball do that. If it's just a grip and throw it like your fastball, it would seem like, why not give it a try?
Well, let me use a golf analogy. When you hit the ball straight as an arrow, which is ideal for golf, you always want to be able to draw it or fade it at will.
Yeah.
So good enough is never good enough. Same thing applies to pitching.
Yeah.
It's never good enough. You think, well, I've thrown this cut fastball, and if I can make it move a little bit more or throw it a little bit harder, it'll be even better. And why? Guys aren't able to do much with it anyway.
Right.
But pitchers are guilty of that. Hitters are guilty of trying to hit the ball 600 feet when 380 feet is going to be a home run for you in the right spot. Am I right?
Yeah. The same thing happens on the golf course. You start off swinging nice and easy. By the seventh hole, you're swinging as hard as you can, trying to hit it farther. All it does is find the woods.
Yeah. Carlos Corcoran, the Rangers switch-hitting catcher, up there with a count of 2 balls and a strike. Corcoran, 263. His average and a home run and 2 RBI. Got Smolinski at first. Nobody out here in the top of the third inning. Jake, of course, pretty good speed over there. Hector Ortiz, Ranger first base coach, helping him read the signs from Tony Beasley. Richards with a high set. This is low, 3-1. Now, if Carlos Corcoran can get aboard, Rangers will be in pretty good shape because they have the top of the order coming up, and this is exactly what you want to do for Leonis Martinez, get some people on base at the bottom of the order, turn it over to the top, and then you have a chance to really do some damage. Smolinski on the move. The pitch is high. The throw is in time. Unfortunately for the Angels, it's ball 4. Well, Chris Iannetta can take pride in that throw he made, but he doesn't get credit for a caught stealing. The Rangers, though, with back-to-back walks, have runners at first and second.
Yeah, that one had me fooled.
Mike Butcher out to the mound. Now, while we have a second here, let's take time for a Mazda game break. Here's John Radigan. John? All right, John, thank you. Well, the Rangers, for the first time tonight, have 2 runners aboard, this time with nobody out. And Leonis Martin, who went down swinging to start things. All the Rangers a chance here to do pretty much whatever Jeff Bannister decides. Sacrifice might be in order. He's around a bunt, and the bunt is foul. It's like the skipper trying to get the advance of the base runners 90 feet with nobody out. Martin back in there. No balls and a strike. Smolinski, the runner at second. Carlos Corporan trailing him at first. Leonis again showing bunt and gets it down. This is a good one. Freese has only one play. That's the first. Sacrifice goes 5-4 on the putout. Smolinski to third, Corporan to second. Mitch Moreland now coming to the plate.
That's one of those sacrifice bunts you could make a training video on. Perfectly executed. Fundamentally, against the guy that I wouldn't think is that easy to bunt, throwing a 96-mile-an-hour cutter. He squares around, bunts it perfectly, right where he's supposed to bunt it, make the third baseman field it, and move the runners.
Well, Leonis gets the job done. Gets that sacrifice down. Forces the Angels now to make a decision what they want to do with the infield. There will play the infield back with one out, and Moreland at the plate. Mitch drew a walk his first time up there. Moreland with 6 RBI. He is trying to increase that total here. Richards will work from the stretch and miss outside with ball one. Moreland starting his 8th game of the year, his 3rd at first base here tonight. Season average at .290. That cutter trying to get the head of the bat out to keep it off his fists and chopped it straight down. Now, Garrett Richards, as we mentioned, maybe not the command that he will have as time goes on. That's why the Rangers would do well as they've done in this inning to kind of be patient with him, make sure he's going to be able to throw a lot of strikes. 1-1 to Moreland. Chopper out to second. That's going to get the run home. Giavatelli on to Pujols. Moreland out. In to score Smolinski. Corporan on to third. The Rangers here in the 3rd inning take a 1-0 lead on Moreland's 7th RBI of the year.
I think one of the reasons that Jeff Bannister would bunt to move the runners over is because of how many ground balls that Richards tends to get. And it's, even though it's Martin running, gets to first base pretty quickly. If he hits the ball on the ground, it's a potential double play. So you move the runners, take away the double play. Infield plays back with 2 men on. A little bit different if there's only a man at third. And a routine ground ball picks up a run for you.
Yep. Prince Fielder fouling off that first pitch. It is 0-1. Fielder rounded into a double play his first time up there. This time batting with 2 outs, and Carlos Corporan, the runner at third. The Rangers a run on 1 hit. That hit came last inning. They have had 2 walks, a sacrifice, and a ground out here to get the run in the 3rd. Well, that pitch really darting in on the fists of Prince Fielder. It's 0-2. Season average 361 for the Ranger DH tonight. Fielder been on base 13 of the last 14 games, either by a hit or a walk. Pulls this one just foul outside first. And we'll come back and try it again at 0-2.
It's kind of what the Angels were doing last inning, fouling off tough pitches like that. It's a pretty good curveball right there. Down and out of the strike zone, but Prince was able to get just a piece of it, foul it down the right field line. Almost kept it fair, as a matter of fact.
Talking about runners in scoring position, Fielder far and away the best on the Rangers. .533. Up the middle, off the glove, It's going to be a tough play for Giovotella. The throw not in time. Fielder is safe. In to score is Corcoran. Fielder gets another hit with runners in scoring position.
It looked like it was going to be a base hit up the middle. Richards got a piece of it, got his glove on it, slowed it down. Fortunately, he slowed it down enough so that even a really nice play by Giovotella wasn't enough to get Prince at first base. Prince getting down to first base as fast as he possibly can, and he beats that play. Gets himself an RBI, picks up a base hit.
Well, Prince really hot-footing it down there. He smelled a base hit, and he was going all out for it. He got it.
Yeah, that's a double dose right there. That's a base hit and an RBI.
Yeah. Well, Fielder now with 10 runs driven in. That's the best on the Ranger Ball Club. Talking with Poole. Poole's probably giving it to him a little bit. Yeah, grown men like you hit the ball like that? Come on. You can't take that. Here's Beltre. Ooh. He had a rip at that breaking ball that stayed up for him. Adrian fouled it straight back. It's 0-2.
Well, the Rangers able to do something here that they didn't do in Arizona. That's take advantage of some walks. Both walks to start the inning came around. Smolinski and Corcoran came around to score. And it didn't take much to do it.
No.
Ground ball back to the pitcher that he couldn't handle, and a ground ball to second base. Got the run in. Both runs in after the bunt.
Shot foul. Both dugouts are taking a beating from their own hitters. First it was C.J. Cron in the Angel dugout. Now it's Adrian Beltre in the Ranger dugout. Yeah, and for the folks that don't like the sacrifice bunt, without that sacrifice bunt, you don't score in this inning.
There's two runs that can tell you in that particular case the sacrifice bunt did work. I think a lot depends on who the pitcher is, what your hitters are hitting, and you know what is the best way to get a run in. And the way the Rangers are swinging the bats right now, it's probably the best way to do it. Instead of playing for a big inning, try to get what you can get.
Popped up, Ibar into left center field, makes the grab. That will do it. But a couple of hits, an infield hit, and a sacrifice bunt. Rangers put 2 on the board after 2.5 lead, 2-0. And our Coors Light cold hard fact for you, brought to you by Crisp Clean Coors Light. How about Wandy Rodriguez, the last player on the Houston Astros roster to have played in the 2005 World Series before he was traded to Pittsburgh in the middle of the 2012 season. He goes to work now with a 2-run lead to protect. Johnny Giovotella, the second baseman and number 9 hitter, leads off. Giovotella, as we mentioned, one of 2 Angels in the lineup, hitting over 300. 304 is his average.
Yeah, I keep saying that the Angels really miss Howie Kendrick, and I think they do. But to Johnny Giovatella's credit, he's come in and played second base well, and he's hitting 300, so he's not doing a bad job himself.
I think Kendrick, I don't know if you agree or not, Tom, but I think Kendrick is leadership too that he brought the Angel Club.
Veteran guy. Yeah, veteran guy. Plus he hit a little more power, a little more of a middle of the order guy. But yeah, I think they, even though Giovatella's doing well, I think they do miss him. And they miss, to a certain degree, Mark Trumbo. Trumbo's one of those guys that when he's going bad, he goes bad and you can pitch to him, but when he's hot, he can carry a club. 30 home runs a couple of times.
Not what Wandy Rodriguez had in mind, a 4-pitch walk to Giovatella to open up the third inning. And it takes the Angels back to the top of their order for Cole Calhoun.
Yeah, Wandy's thrown 51 pitches basically in 2 innings, 26 strikes, 25 balls. Struck out the side, though, in the second inning, got a big double play in the first inning to help him get out of a couple of jams, leadoff walk in the first, a couple of base hits in the second.
Calhoun, first ball, swinging, pops it up. Smolinski coming on, calls off Elvis Andrus.
If I was a manager, that would drive me crazy. I think Calhoun's a good ball player, but you go up there down 2-0 after a guy just walked on 4 pitches that weren't even close and swing at the first pitch and make it out. You're doing nothing but a favor to the pitcher.
And I'll tell you what, from a pitcher standpoint, that gives you a whole new breath of fresh air, and new life and everything. It just pumps you right up.
And it's a borderline pitch to begin with.
It might be called the ball, and
that's just going up for yourself right there. Saying, I'm getting a pitch and I'm going to try to drive it.
Here's Mike Trout, and that pitch very high from Wandy Rodriguez.
Instead of doing, what's best for the team. A manager can't tell, a good hitter, leadoff hitter, go up there and take a pitch, but you assume that the hitter knows enough to do it on his own.
Yeah, I mean, you assume a major league hitter can go up there and not swing at something that is questionable.
Yeah.
If he throws you a fastball right down the middle of the plate to try and get ahead, that's a different story.
Yeah, and now he's thrown 2 balls here, so he's thrown 7 pitches this inning. And if that pitch was called a ball, which it could have been,
right.
I mean, it was barely a strike, he's thrown 7 straight balls, and he has 1 out.
Well, Trout grounded into the double play in the first inning. That's a pretty healthy cut at that fastball, 2-1.
Yeah, lucky it wasn't 6 or 8 inches lower. You keep it up there, you got a chance.
Yep.
If that pitch was 8 inches lower, he might still be trotting around the bases.
Yeah, 3 balls in a strike to Trout. Well, Rodriguez in danger of putting 2 aboard with the walk. Albert Pujols, the number 3 man in the order, is waiting to be next. Right now, Trout in a 0-for-7 streak. He's cooled off quite a bit since the Rangers saw him several days ago in Arlington. Inside, ball 4. And there are runners at first and second with Pujols coming up. And Mike Maddox take this opportunity to head out to the mound and talk with the veteran left-hander. Well, Mike out there, the first visit he has been afforded with Wandy Rodriguez. While we have a second here, we'd like to remind you can join the Texas Rangers players, coaches, and alumni for the Park Place dealership Texas Rangers Triple Play Game Show Spectacular. This year it'll be the Big Top Bash on Sunday, May 17th at the Hilton Anatole. Proceeds benefit the Texas Rangers Baseball Foundation. And to purchase tickets or for more information, just visit TexasRangers.com/triple-play, or you can call 817-436-5933. Always a lot of fun, and this year will be no exception. Mike Maddox out there got a shoot off the mound by Jim Reynolds. And Mike is probably asking Reynolds, what do you think we should do? Reynolds wouldn't tell him. So
I don't know what we should do, but I know what you should do. Get back to the dugout.
Mike probably told Reynolds, well, if you call more strikes, I wouldn't come out. Albert Pujols, with runners at first and second, got the breaking ball that dipped in for strike one. Pujols popped out to Mitch Moreland his first time up. Got Giovatelli at second, Trout at first. And the pitch down and in to even things up at a ball and a strike. Active leaders in career home runs. Albert Pujols trailing only Alex Rodriguez. Adrian Beltre fourth on that list. David Ortiz in between Pujols and Beltre. And a big cut and a pitch away. And it's a ball and 2 strikes.
Now, Wandy pretty much has had his normal stuff tonight that we've seen him have every time we've seen him pitch. Just doesn't have quite the command tonight. 30 balls, 30 strikes. But fastball you would expect to be 89 to 91. That's where it's been. He's thrown some good curveballs. A few changeups. Good fastball right there. Yes,
strike
sir.
3. Pujols dropping the bat, and home plate umpire Jim Reynolds watching him all the way back to the dugout. Well, you drop a bat like that, make a display like that, I don't care who you are, the umpire's not going to like it.
No, he's not going to like it. Pujols might have gotten the benefit of the doubt because he's Albert Pujols. Well, pitch, borderline pitch. You know, if you're Pujols, you're going to be upset with that call. If you're Wandy Rodriguez, you'll say, I'll take it. One of those calls that could go either way.
Well, 4 strikeouts now for Rodriguez, 2 outs. That fastball to David Freese up about cap high. 1 ball, no strikes. Freese struck out to start off the Angels' second inning. Average currently at 242. 11 RBI for Freese. That is the best on the Angel ball club. Makes that big bender. 1-1. Freese had a 5-game hitting streak that was snapped yesterday. Mentioned the Angels won 2-0, but they only had 1 hit. That was a 2-run home run by Cole Calhoun. Fastball hitting. Rodriguez trying to come in with that cut fastball, and he cut it a little too much. Right into the left side of David Freese to load the bases for Eric Ibar.
Just got away from him.
But 2 walks, a hit batter, and with 2 outs, Eric Ibar, who had an infield single his first time up, will step to the plate. Bases full of Angel teammates. Ibar raised his average now up over the Mendoza line. It's at 211 after that single, and he takes ball 1. That infield base hit snapped an 0-for-7 streak for Ibar. Giovatelli, Trout, and Freese. Third, second, and first. Good breaking ball from Wandy Rodriguez to even the count, and a ball and a strike.
Yeah, one thing Wandy's had to do in this inning is really use his breaking ball to throw a strike. He's had really a problem commanding his fastball. He's been able to break that curveball in for a strike when he's needed to.
Last 5 ball games, Ibar 4-for-17. Rodriguez back to the plate. To center field, Martin backpedaling, makes the catch. And Wandy Rodriguez and the Rangers out of the 3rd inning. No runs, no hits, but 3 men left. On to the 4th we go. 2-0 Rangers on Fox Sports Southwest. Great Rangers tickets. During the season, the treasure chest is filled with great deals on tickets or special seat locations. The current treasure chest offer is good for $50 individual tickets for the Hyundai Club. That's April 27th and 28th. You can enjoy an inclusive buffet and the most modern party suite at Globe Life Park. Visit TexasRangers.com/treasure chest and check out deals today. The Rangers have a pretty good deal going here tonight. They are leading 2-0 as we head to the fourth inning. Shin-Soo Choo to start things off against Garrett Richards. It'll be Choo, Andrus, and Odor. Choo, who went down swinging his first time, takes a knee-high strike. Richards has struck out 3. He has walked 3. Slow topper out towards second. Giovotella, quick throw, and Choo out by half a step. One gone, Elvis Andrus coming up. Elvis doubled into the gap in left center with 2 outs in the second. The only Ranger extra base hit tonight. Also had an infield RBI single by Prince Fielder. Elvis now 5 out of his last 16 times to the plate. Pretty good breaking ball for strike 1. Elvis has run wild against the Angels over the years. 38 steals, the most that he's had against any club. Of course, getting on base is a prerequisite for that. And Elvis better than a .310 lifetime hitter against the Angels. This one popped up to shallow right field. Cole Calhoun settles underneath it. That is out number 2. So Richards making quick work of the first 2 Ranger hitters. Now it's Rougned Odor. Odor, a strikeout back in the second inning. Rougned is always hitting out of that very open stance. And Richards coming out this inning, dropping in the breaking ball early in the count to a couple of Ranger hitters. One ball and 1 strike. Odor, despite the unusually low average for him, is still among the leaders for second baseman in RBI, 7 of them. And our Kubota power stats tonight, we'll focus on Garrett Richards. Last season, we talked about some of the numbers. In the American League, Garrett Richards was 5th in the ERA with a .261 mark, 2nd in opponent's batting average, and 1st in opponent's slugging percentage, just .261. Tom was telling you that, had Richards stayed healthy the entire year, he would have been right there at the top in consideration for the Cy Young winner award, I should say. 2-2 now. Richards back to the plate. Slow hopper down to first. Right at the bag. Pujols grabs it, steps on the bag, and that will do it. Rangers out in order for the first time tonight. We played 3.5 in Anaheim. Wandy Rodriguez and the Rangers leading the Angels 2-0. Brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by the Mazda 6. J.D. Power is awarded the Mazda 6 highest ranked vehicle appeal among midsize cars. Wandy Rodriguez back to the hill, leading 2-0. The hits are even at 2. Rangers put together a hit and a couple of walks, hit batter, sacrifice, those good things. And just like that, C.J. Cron goes down and gets a fastball and drives it into left center field for a leadoff single. And Cron is 2 for 2.
Well, it doesn't really matter what Cron's doing against the other teams in the league. When he plays the Rangers, he seems to do well.
Now Cron, a leadoff single. That'll bring up Colin Cowgill. Cowgill, a strikeout victim in the second. That was the inning that the Angels had back-to-back hits from Ibar and Cron with 1 out. And Rodriguez able to get a strikeout of Cowgill, who tries to bunt his way aboard. It's back over the screen and a play. Cowgill struck out in the second with runners at the corners. Chris Iannetta called out on strikes, facing Wandy Rodriguez.
Let's see what happens to that bunt. You had it, big guy. You had it and you lost it.
Right through the mitts.
If you brought a glove to the park, your girlfriend would be proud of you.
Chopper wide at third. Beltre, sitting down position, throws wide, and everybody's safe. Cowgill gets down the line pretty quickly, and that's why Beltre didn't have time to try and scramble to his feet. That'll be an infield single for Colin Cowgill. They're now 2 aboard with nobody out, and Chris Iannetta coming up.
That's a tough call for the third baseman.
Yeah.
You know, it's a high chopper. Elvis is there waiting for it, but I think most times the third baseman is going to take whatever he can get to his left. And for Adrian Beltre, of course that's what you're going to do. And that just couldn't make the accurate throw.
Yeah, with Cowgill's speed, I'm not sure if Beltre doesn't get it that Elvis would have had a play on it, or a play to get him at first. So 2 on, nobody out. Iannetta called out on strikes his first time, and he takes ball 1. The pitch count now for Wandy Rodriguez in this next offering will be at his total that he reached in his first outing at Round Rock, 72 pitches. That was in 5 innings of work at AAA. That's in the dirt, and it gets away from Corcoran, so down to third goes C.J. Cron. Wild pitch, advances Cron 90 feet. Cowgill stays at first. Runners at the corners, nobody out.
Well, Carlos has done a great job tonight blocking a number of balls in the dirt, including several curveballs just like that. That one got away from him, but he's done a great job so far blocking balls like that. A couple of times with the man on third base.
2 balls and no strikes. Corcoran, the series of signs. Breaking ball to right center field. That's going to be deep enough to score Cron, who is tagging at third. The throw comes into second. Cron scores. Staying at first is Cowgill. The Angels have cut the Ranger lead in half. It's now 2-1 Texas. Iannetta with his first RBI of the year on the sacrifice fly.
Iannetta struck out with men on first and third and 2 outs in the second inning. That's his first RBI in his 46th at bat.
Well, 1 gone now, and Johnny Giovatello garnered a walk leading off the 3rd inning. Number 9 hitter will step in there with Cowgill at first. Again, Cowgill has very good speed. Angels, not a big running club. They've only stolen 5 bases in 9 attempts this year. Trout has 4 of those 5, and Cowgill has the other. Chicago, Minnesota, both at the top of that list, which means bottom of the league for fewest stolen bases. That ball hit well to left center field. Back is Martin, and he makes the catch, stepping onto the warning track. Back to first is Cowgill, and Diabatelli gave it a pretty good ride, but ball not carrying here in the evening. That is out number 2, and it'll bring up Cole Calhoun.
Pretty well hit ball by Giovatelli. Fortunately, it wasn't Trout or Pujols who hit that ball.
Calhoun walked in the first, popped out in the 3rd inning. Average of 265, and Calhoun has had better luck this year against left-handed pitching than he has against right-handers. He is hitting .385 against southpaws coming into play tonight. There's his breakdown, just .229 against right-handers. The 0-1 pitch coming from Rodriguez. Moreland will race Calhoun to the bag. He wins that race handily, and that'll do it. The Angels do come up with a run on a couple of hits. They strand 1. We have played 4. Rangers 2, Angels 1. Fox Sports Southwest. Tomorrow's pitching matchup. Familiar faces of Colby Lewis and C.J. Wilson. Colby comes in at 1-1, and C.J. Wilson at 1-2. We'll be with you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, hour earlier, Central Time, for the middle game of this 3-game set. Jake Smolinski will start things off for the Rangers here in the 5th inning. Smolinski successfully started the Ranger 2-run 3rd inning by walking. He and Carlos Corporan drew the passes from Garrett Richards, and Richards, trying to avoid a repeat of that, fires strike 1.
Yeah, Richards has walked 3 guys, but the 2 that really hurt him were the leadoff hitters, the 8th and 9th place hitters in the Ranger lineup to start the 3rd inning.
A nasty breaking ball, and Smolinski now down in an 0-2 hole. And Garrett Richards, you can understand why he was among the league leaders in most of the categories last year, including strikeouts. He was right up there, right at the top. He has great stuff. And when his command is good, he is doubly and triply tough. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Smolinski. Jake 0 for 4 in Wednesday night's affair in Arizona. skies this one to right field. Cole Calhoun camped out underneath it. That is out number 1, and it'll bring up Carlos Corporan. Folks, tonight on Fox Sports Live, the Mavericks take the floor without Rondo, trying to avoid an 0-3 hole against the Rockets. The New York Rangers can put an end to Sidney Crosby's season. And we have history in New York when the first-place Yankees host the first-place Mets. Stay here for a simulcast of Fox Sports Live right after Rangers Live postgame. Carlos Corporan takes an off-speed pitch for strike 1. So Richards might have found something last inning and able to drop in a couple of breaking balls early in the count. He's continued that this inning, and as a result, I think the command has kind of fallen into place. Command of the fastball also. That pitch notwithstanding. A lot of pitching coaches that'll tell you, hey, if you're having trouble commanding the fastball, throw a couple of breaking balls. See if you can make yourself get that release point down a bit, which you have to do with a breaking ball. Giovatelli charging. 2 gone.
Well, it seems like that's exactly what Wandy Rodriguez has done in this ball game. Resorted to the breaking ball when he needed to throw a couple of strikes on a couple of different occasions.
Richards with 72 pitches total, 24 the big count there in that third inning when the Rangers got back-to-back walks to start things and ended up scoring both their runs. Here's Leonis Martin showing bunt and takes ball 1. Martin had that sacrifice bunt in the third, advanced both Smolinski and Corporan to positions where they could score in that inning. One ball, 1 strike. Still some pretty good steam on that fastball at 96. Leonis hitting at 234. Hits it hard. Pujols.
Nice play.
A tricky hop that came up just about chin high. He was down on one knee, and that will do it for the Rangers again. 1-2-3 fashion. Richards now has retired 7 straight. We'll go to the bottom of the 5th inning. 2-1 Texas. $11 and offers savings of nearly 50%. Group pricing is available in 9 different seating areas, plus the all-inclusive and newly renovated Cholula all-you-can-eat seats. Learn more about group savings offered for every Rangers game at texasrangers.com/groups. Wandy Rodriguez dropping in that big hook to Mike Trout as Roman Mendez starting to loosen in that Ranger bullpen in support of Wandy Rodriguez. Rodriguez able to In the last 5 batters are only 8 pitches, but Trout just reaches out and loops one to center for a leadoff single.
Right, threw him another breaking ball. They're trying to drop it on the outside corner. Trout spoiled the strategy. Reached out and stroked it into center field. Got different ways to go about it with Trout 0-2. That's one attempt. Try to throw a breaking ball outside, which they did. Result, a rope into center field. The other one is to bust him up and in a couple of times in a spot where he can't hit the ball very well.
The tying run aboard with nobody out here in the 5th inning. Here's Albert Pujols, who is 0 for 2. Pujols popped out in the 1st inning, was called out on strikes. Last time up, that was in 3rd. Just a 183 average for one of the all-time greats. 1 ball and 1 strike. Pujols climbing up the charts on virtually every offensive list. Just passed Goose Goslin in RBI with 1,609th for 32nd place in the all-time RBI list. That ball's drilled to center. Leonis Martin going back, reaches up and makes the catch and pounds into the paddock.
That was an absolute bullet. I think Martin was shocked that the ball carried that far. Off the bat, I think he thought he was going to be able to take a couple steps over and catch it. And that ball just took off. The ball is going to go basically 400 feet. And it's a low line drive. Leonis just kind of looks and then realizes he's got to get back. Unfortunately, he's got the speed and the ability to go back and make a nice play on it. Nice recovery.
Yeah, and that ball was going out there. It wasn't slicing or hooking or anything. It was just going straight on a line.
That was just a rope.
Wow. The one very loud out here in the 5th inning. Mike Trout still at first. Here's David Freese. Hit by a pitch his last time up. There's that breaking ball early in the count for strike 1. Freese struck out leading off the 2nd inning. Hit by a pitch that loaded the bases in the 3rd, and Wandy able to get Ibar to finish that inning off with a fly ball. 0-1 pitch. 0-2 on the foul ball. Wandy Rodriguez now. See the 2nd and 3rd innings, 56 pitches. He came back in the 4th inning and had 9 pitches. And that allowed him to get here into the 5th. And also signaled the need to have somebody up in the bullpen because Wandy's endurance not lengthened all that much by what he's been able to do. Oh, 0-2 the count. A couple of calling cards over to first base where Trout is getting a little bit larger lead. Richard Trout has 4/5 of the Angels' stolen bases this year. Just missed the outside corner. Good pitch by Rodriguez. 1-2 now. No doubt that if Wandy's stuff is up to what he expects it to be, he can still pitch. He knows exactly what he wants to do, and he has that ability to use his stuff very well. Knocked him up.
I agree.
On the fists.
I agree, Buzz. I think the stuff that he's got today is everything the Rangers would have hoped to see. And I think he'd have to assume with a veteran guy as he gets back in the swing of things that the command will get better and better each time out. He really didn't have a lot of work preceding this appearance. And, if the Rangers didn't really need a starter tonight, could probably make a case he would have been better off with a couple of more minor league starts. But he's getting it in the big leagues because he's a veteran. And his stuff has been fine tonight. He made a lot of good pitches. Maybe not quite as many strikes as he'd like to throw, but no problem with the stuff that he's got out there.
You have to go back better than a year to find the last time that Wandy Rodriguez is able to throw more than 85 pitches in a ballgame. And last April 9th, as a matter of fact. So 2 outs. Here's Eric Ibar. The strike is thrown. Beltre and
who's going to catch this
Elvis.
ball? Who's going to catch it?
See if you can tell. I don't care how many times I see that, I still have to chuckle with it. Out of play, 0-2.
Elvis gets frustrated because it is, even to a big leaguer, on a simple play, it's slightly distracting to have the guy in front of you not get out of the way, put his glove up like he's going to catch it. And, you know, Elvis knows there's nothing he can do about it because he's not going to stop doing it. He's having too much fun. But Elvis still, it's just a little unsettling to have that guy right in front of you when you're trying to catch him. You know he's there. You feel he's there. You're wondering why he's there.
Got him swinging. Boy, nice job by Rodriguez. The out will be recorded at first. Wandy Rodriguez, though, gives up the leadoff single to Trout and then gets the next 3 hitters to preserve the Ranger lead. We go to the 6th, 2-1 Texas. Tonight's jackpot is worth $700 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. Tonight, the Rangers are hitting for Christy Selder from Gainesville. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Christy Selder from Gainesville will win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Now, Wandy Rodriguez making that 1-run advantage stand up very effectively. And Rangers trying to add to it here in the 6th. Mitch Moreland will start things off. It'll be the middle of the Ranger order. Moreland, Fielder, and Beltre. So Christy Selder have a good inning here, I think, to get some of that Sonic Slam money. Moreland 0 for 1, but with an RBI tonight. Walked his first time up, had the RBI ground out in the 3rd. Pitch now, 7 runs driven in. Big breaking ball, and very quickly, Richards on top of the count, 0-2. Garrett Richards approaching 80 pitches. He has retired the last 7 Rangers he has faced. Just a little bit low. Knocked the helmet right off Chris Iannetta.
Wow.
It's a good thing he's wearing that helmet because that would have knocked him silly.
You could tell by Chris's reaction to that, even with the helmet, he's still moving his jaw, moving his jaw around and sitting there feeling like he's not quite ready to catch the next pitch.
And time called. You have to have left fielder Colin Cowgill head over to retrieve a ball that had gotten loose in the Ranger bullpen.
Yeah, 60 years ago, the outfielders used to leave their glove out in the outfield instead of bringing it back into the dugout. There's all sorts of things in the outfield. Now you got a candy wrapper out in the outfield. They have to get rid of it.
Another one in the dirt.
Another one.
Ian Edison, you want to get it up just a little bit for me? I'm struggling back here. The guy throwing that hard that buries one in the dirt out in front of home plate, that's tough on a catcher.
We've seen some catchers get battered on this road trip. Mike Zunino comes to mind in Seattle.
Yeah. Chopper foul. Count of 2-2. Mitch swinging the bat well. He has been able to drive the ball to all fields, and particularly drive it to left center with authority, and that pretty good indication he's feeling well. His mechanics are pretty good. There's one high in the air down the left field line. Long run for Cowgill near the railing. That makes the catch for out number one. Before Prince Fielder comes up, let's send it back to John Radigan for a Mazda game break. John? All right, John, thank you.
We're talking about all the balls in the dirt. Garrett Richards, even though he missed a month and a half of the season, led the American League in wild pitches last year with 22. Well, that's just part of his game. He's one of the best pitchers in the league, but he's tough to catch when you're throwing the ball with his kind of movement.
Rich Fielder lashes one to left center. Trout over to cut it off. Deep in the alley, he's going to hold Prince to a long single. Prince Fielder rifling that ball, and he is 2 for 3 now.
Well, you know, those 3 decent at-bats for Prince against a very tough guy to hit. First time up, he hit a ground ball into a double play. Next time up, he hit a ball back through the middle. Looked like a solid base hit. Richards knocked it down, turned it into an infield hit. But there's a mid-90s pitch tailing away from him just a little bit, up and away. Drove it into the gap in left center field. Nice job by Prince. Stays hot.
Boy, if it hadn't been for Mike Trout having superior speed, that would have been extra bases. The fielder on at first. The breaking ball to Adrian Beltre is low and outside. Beltre 0 for 2 tonight. He is grounded out and popped out. Rangers only 3 hits tonight, but they put across 2 runs thanks in large part to a couple of back-to-back walks in that 3rd inning. 1 ball, 1 strike. Adrian Beltre slamming that bat against his cleats. Home runs by 3rd baseman all time. Mike Schmidt leads with 548. Adrian Beltre down there in 5th place. He is trailing Darrell Evans now by some 17 home runs. Pops this one up. Over to take a look. Crone and Iannetta is back on the roof of the dugout seats. And the count is 1-2.
Poor girl tried to catch that with a glove. It got almost knocked down by 3 guys going after the ball. She got her glove. She's underneath it. Got fouled on the play. Trying to get the rebound.
Rich is ready. The 1-2 pitch. That's in the dirt. You know, you're talking about the wild pitches, Tom. Watching Garrett Richards pitch, you can understand why he would have that power curveball. If his command isn't good, he's going to bury a lot of those.
Yeah.
And they could go anywhere from, right in front of the catcher to maybe 3 or 4 feet out in front of home plate, which is impossible to block.
Sure is.
Well, one thing's for sure, he's not going to back off on how hard he tries to throw that curveball. And that's what makes it good.
No.
Adrian chopping that foul the other way. Beltre back in, fielder at first. 1 out here in the Rangers' 6th inning. Adrian trying to extend his current hitting streak, which is at a modest 3. Hopper to Giovotella. They're going to turn this into a double play. A broken bat and 2 outs, and the Rangers are gone in the 6th. No runs a hit, nobody left. 5.5 in the books. It remains the Rangers 2 and the Angels 1 on Fox Sports Southwest. The first 15,000 fans 14 and older will receive a Texas Rangers camo cap courtesy of Fanatics. Join us at Globe Live Park as the Rangers play host to the Cleveland Indians and pick up your Rangers camo cap. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com or you can call 972-RANGERS if you prefer. 6th inning, Tanner Scheppers has come out of the Ranger bullpen to take over for Wandy Rodriguez. Scheppers appearing in his 4th ball game. Had a couple of rough outings, and last time out in Arizona got back in the swing of things. Facing C.J. Cron, and he's ahead of the count, or I should say even in the count, at 1-1 after the foul ball. Opponents hitting an even 300 against Scheppers.
Well, this may be a situation a little bit like Leonis Martin. Martin was moved down to the bottom of the order just to get comfortable, just for a while. And Tanner, I'm sure, still projects as an 8th inning guy, but for the time being, it may be a situation where he pitches a little earlier in the game.
Cron with his 3rd hit of the night. Fan interference, so the umpires placed Cron at second base. His 3rd double of the season.
That might be an ejection. The guy's pretty happy to have the ball, but to the ball that was in play. Tell you, Cron hit a tough pitch right there. That's a 90-plus fastball tailing in on his fists. He hit it pretty well right down the line. 3 for 3.
Well, the Angels have the tying run at second base. Nobody out here in the 6th as Tanner Scheppers has come on. Colin Cowgill had an infield single his last time up. And it's going to be Matt Joyce pinch hitting for Cowgill. Well, Joyce coming off the bench, a 143 average. No home runs, 5 RBI. Joyce has been mired in a pretty lengthy slump for the Angels. Trying to pick up Cron from second base. Fouls it high in the air, and that will twist back and out of play down the left side. Joyce 0 for his last 19 times to the plate. It's the second longest offer that he's had in his career, the longest 20-game streak back in 2013. He had 4 hits in the series against the Rangers down in Arlington. Got C.J. Cron at second with nobody out.
He almost swung at that pitch. That pitch almost hit him. Wow.
Tanner Shepard will take it. He got the strikeout.
Boy, you're talking about a pretty good big league hitter. In fact, I think he's made an all-star team before. But boy, he is struggling right now. That pitch is not even close. That pitch is a foot inside and low. I don't know if I've ever seen a guy swing at a fastball there. It's one thing if it's a breaking ball, hard breaking ball down and in, and you're fooled. That was just a fastball that wasn't even close. So just shows how a decent big league hitter can struggle at times and just kind of be lost at the plate. Not a good feeling when it's happening to you. But most hitters go through that.
Well, a very big strikeout for Shepard. Chris Iannetta, 0 for 1 with a strikeout and a sacrifice fly. Pounds one, but pulls it foul. So 1 ball and 1 strike. Iannetta, sacrifice fly in the 4th inning. That plated the only Angel run of the night thus far. Shepard's trying to make sure that it stays that way. 2 balls and a strike now. Angels a run on 6 hits this evening. Rangers 2 runs on just 3 hits. Breaking ball that backs away Iannetta and catches the inside part of the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Shepard's trying to bounce back after giving up the leadoff double. The Angels struggling with runners in scoring position, as are the Rangers this year. Breaking ball got him swinging. Boy, even a hanger and Iannetta couldn't deal with it. Back-to-back strikeouts, 2 away. Johnny Giovatello coming up.
He's trying to throw it down in a way, so it's not the exact location he wanted, but still kind of a sharp breaking curve ball. And it was more than Iannetta could handle for sure.
Giovatello has walked and skied to center field. Ground ball wide of third. Beltre cuts it off nicely and across the diamond, and Shepard and the Rangers work around a leadoff double as the Angels strand their 8th runner of the night. We're going to the 7th, 2-1 Texas. Summary showing the Rangers on top 2-1. Wandy Rodriguez in his first start as an American leaguer. He's been good tonight. 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, just 1 run. Rangers, though, put together a couple of walks, a ground out, and an infield single. although hard hit by Prince Fielder for their 2 runs. That was in the 3rd inning, and so far the Rangers have been able to make that stand up.
Tell you what, Prince got down the line, too.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Steve Buechele and Jeff Bannister.
That would have been an ugly sight if the first baseman kind of came across the bag to catch that ball and ran into Prince.
If it had been with Pujols as
man.
a guy, that would have been talk about a train wreck.
Wow.
2 big trains. Shin-Soo Choo trying to bunny his way aboard to lead things off here in the 7th inning, and bunts it foul. Defensive change for the Angels. Matt Joyce, who pinch hit for Colin Cowgill, stays in the ballgame. Joyce now of the 0 for 20, a career-long tying drought with the bat out in left field. Choo 0 for 2 tonight, a strikeout and a little tapper to second. Hard hit, but Pujols there to gobble it up. 1 gone. Shin-Soo Choo now is 1 for 20 on the road trip. Elvis Andrus will be next. Elvis, a 2-out double in the 2nd. He was left stranded though at second base. Last time up, fly to right field. Rangers, of late anyway, have upped their offense. Last game in Seattle, the 2 games in Arizona. Able to score 22 runs in those 3 games with 10 extra base hits. But tonight, into an offensive malaise. However, they're leading 2-1. Nice job though by Wandy Rodriguez and Tanner Scheppers in that 6th inning. Breaking ball comes in at the upper reaches of the strike zone, and Elvis now down in the count, 0-2. Richards. Skag pitch tracker showing you the last called strike to Elvis. He is gone now as that fastball was up. Elvis offering at it with no success. 2 gone. Garrett Richards, that's his 4th strikeout, but his 1st since the 2nd inning. Third inning. Remember the 2 walks to start the inning. Was able to get out of it after the Rangers had scored 2, and then went to a lot of breaking balls early in the count. That seemed to get him back into the strike zone. Didn't get him a lot of strikeouts, but he was able to get his release point down and start throwing more strikes consistently.
Yeah, I think it's probably the reason why he's here in the 7th inning.
Yep. I would agree with you. Odor swinging through that big breaking ball, and very quickly 0-2. Rougned a strikeout, a ground ball to first. Richards approaching 100 pitches for tonight. A ball and 2 strikes. Richards, the big right-hander from Edmond, Oklahoma. Got him swinging. Back-to-back strikeouts. Richards gets those 2 to end the 7th inning. Rangers gone in order. We'll take the stretch in Anaheim. It's the Rangers 2 and the Angels 1. Pony Pride at a Texas Ranger game. Get discounted tickets for this Monday's game against the Mariners, and the first 1,000 fans with an SMU ticket at the park that night get a free Rangers cap in SMU blue, red, and white colors. Go to TexasRangers.com/SMU for details. And we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, and Keone Kela, the 22-year-old right-hander, on now to take over for Jeff Bannister's club. Keone Kela appearing in his 9th ball game already. He has been used and used often, not for a lot of hitters at one time, but he is out there again and dealing with the top of the Angels order. That means Cole Calhoun. Calhoun 0 for 2 tonight. Calhoun walked in the first, popped out in the third, grounded out in the fourth.
Angels tonight are only 1 for 8 with men in scoring position. 5 of the 7 strikeouts that they have come with men in scoring position. Two-year-old
Keone Kela on to face the Angels. The 1-1 pitch. And a ball and 2 strikes now.
That's the first. Well, I think that's the first pitch we've seen Keone pop up there at 96 miles an hour.
Yeah, his velocity has been hovering 93, 94 most of the time.
Solid.
Topping out, yeah.
But 96 is nice to see.
Kela pitched one time against the Angels in Arlington. Slapped the other way and foul. Just foul off the bat of Cole Calhoun. Calhoun's bid for extra bases. Maybe 3 feet foul. Come back and try it again with a 1-2 count. Calhoun, not your prototypical leadoff hitter from the standpoint of he doesn't take a lot of pitches. He's up there hacking. Got some power, though, and he provides things at the top of the order that not many others can provide. Decent speed, but he is very much an extra base threat in that leadoff spot. Kela with the 1-2. Toward the hole at short and through for a base hit. Calhoun starts off the 7th inning by getting ahead, or getting on, I should say, ahead of Mike Trout and Albert Pujols.
He does a nice job of hitting the ball where it's pitched. That fastball was 97 miles an hour, kind of up and away. And on that kind of a play, Elvis is shading him up the middle. But if he had known that pitch was going to be 97 miles an hour on the outside corner, he might have shifted back the other way. Pretty tough for Calhoun with 2 strikes to pull that ball.
Where the target was set, that pitch was supposed to be inside.
Right.
And that's, when you make a mistake like that, the shift is out the window.
Exactly.
Credit Calhoun, but that kind of defeats the purpose of shifting.
Yep.
1 ball and no strikes to Mike Trout, who has a single in 2 official trips. Trout singled leading off the 5th inning, but was left stranded there by Wandy Rodriguez. Trout had a walk in the 3rd. He's also grounded into a double play, and that's exactly what the Rangers are hoping for this time up there. Odor and Andrews had double play depth. Calhoun, the lead from first, and Trout, a pretty good rip at that fastball, fouls it back.
6th time in 7 innings the leadoff guy has gotten on base. Fastball in, big swing by Trout. Like the location, maybe a few inches higher next time.
Skag pitch tracker showing you that. Yeah, that's getting close to the danger zone. Kela checking the runner. And Trout has started to back out, but I don't
think he got time.
That Jim Reynolds gave him time out.
A good one to throw right down the middle of the plate, sneak in the strike. Uncontested. Oh, he didn't get him time. Called it too late. Trout got lucky. This wasn't a strike.
Well, 2-1 the count. And that chopper runs foul. 2 balls, 2 strikes. A little over 41,000 on hand here tonight. This Friday night is the first of 3 with the Rangers and Angels this weekend. Angels had their smallest crowd yesterday in that 4 o'clock start against the Athletics. Smallest crowd since 2003, I think it was. Here.
Wow.
24,000 for the day game.
Strange start time.
Yeah, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
If you're going to do a team a favor by playing a day game, do them a favor. Play it at 1 o'clock. No one's better at accommodating the other team on that type of a day than the A's.
Elvis to second. The return not in time. Trout too quick to enable the Rangers to turn that. But the force at second in a very big out. Now Albert Pujols coming up. Nice play by Elvis.
The low fastball that actually started out on the outside part of the plate, it looked like, and then with the movement brought it to the inside part. Trout got a pretty good piece of the bat on the ball, but beat it into the ground for that force out.
Pujols 0 for 3 this evening. Last time up, though, he had a frozen rope to center field that Leonys Martin had to catch over his head going back to the warning track. That first pitch in for a strike. And our AT&T U-verse rewind will show you that play. Watch Leonys, he sprinted back when he saw that thing coming. And to leap up and snag that ball just about a step from the wall.
He's giving himself a hand.
Yeah, he should. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's one of those balls, Tom, you talk about sometimes that almost right over your head.
Yeah. I think the center fielder would tell you that that's the toughest one for him. It's tough to judge. You see it coming right at you, and his first reaction was, I think, that he thought he was deep enough to catch it, and realized he wasn't.
There goes Trout. The pitch is low. The throw is late. And Trout with his 5th stolen base of the year. Not much Carlos Corcoran could do. He did everything possible. And Trout still able to leg it out. So Trout now in scoring position. 2 balls and a strike. The count to Albert Pujols. Rangers now shift further around to the left side, and Pujols chops it foul. You need to be careful here with Pujols at the plate. A runner in scoring position in a 1-run ball game late in the game, Pujols will take the ball to the right side. If you give him a pitch, he can do that with it. And that being a fastball away, a breaking ball that he recognizes early. If you're going with a fastball, you're better off working him inside in this situation, not giving him the option to try and take the ball the other way. Our Skag pitch tracker showing the location of that last pitch down and in. Rangers on the right side of that infield. Mitch Moreland trying to cut the hole down a little bit, but he has to be close enough to first to be able to get back to the bag. Up the middle, snagged by Kelly. He'll turn it. No. Almost turned it into 2. And I don't know how in the world he caught that.
He threw a changeup to second base. And that was a high fastball, 95 miles an hour. And Albert Pujols hit a rocket back through the middle. Well, he caught it like it was a routine play. He had Trout off second. Trout recovered quickly and got scampered back. Fortunately, Buzz, that ball's on the glove side. Ooh. And then when he threw it to second, he didn't have much on the ball. Trout was able to sneak back in. Boy, thank goodness. That's about the only place that ball could be where he could catch it, too.
You're right. And that was in real speed.
His glove,
right there.
His glove is right there. Anywhere else. And
just happened to finish his follow-through with his glove up there.
Wow.
One more time at real speed. So you want to be a pitcher, huh? Look now. That would have planted Keone Keller right on the mound if it had hit him.
Oh, it would.
Goodness. So, the second big out. Now here's David Freese.
There's been some games where Keone has come in and really used his changeup or his breaking ball. Today it's been 17 pitches, and unless I missed one, I think it's been 17 fastballs. Probably velocity-wise, the best fastball that he's had all season.
Yeah.
It's been between 95 and 97. And when they've been down, they've had pretty good movement. So it's almost like he's feeling really good with his fastball, and he's stuck with it.
That pitch way inside to Freese. 3 balls and no strikes. Freese has been hit by a pitch already tonight. That was by Wandy Rodriguez back in the third. Keone Keller has fallen behind 3-0. And if he loses Freese, Eric Ibar, the switch-hitting shortstop, waits to be next. Now 3-1. Freese, along with a hit by pitch, struck out in the second. In the fifth, that was his last time up, popped out to short. Trout at the bottom of your screen establishing his lead at second base. The 3-1. There's a breaking ball for you.
There you go. Behind in the count, good time to drop one in there.
Yeah, David Freese says, wait a minute.
I don't think there's any way a hitter could swing at it after what looked to be 19 straight fastballs.
A big sigh, and into the stretch goes Keller. Leonis Martin going back. He is at the wall. That ball's gone. David Freese has turned the score around. The Angels lead it 3-2. Freese with his 4th home run of the year. And Keone Keller, the victim of that long ball.
He throws him another fastball. Inside corner. Not a terrible pitch. Freese was able to get the good part of the bat on it. Off the bat, I wasn't sure if he got it, but watching it fly out of here, it looks like he did.
Well, the Angels lead it 3-2, and now Eric Ibar up there with nobody on base. Ibar 1 for 3 tonight. Now, that's one of those pitches, Tom, we haven't talked about this much this year. I know we talked about it some last year. You're going to come inside to a lot of guys, especially power hitters. You're better off getting the pitch up above belt high. When you get it down, it's a little bit easier for him to drop the head of the bat on it. And it looked like that's what Freese was able to do.
He's definitely looking.
It's not, you're right, it's not a terrible pitch. But, a guy like Freese with his power and in a fastball count, he was able to turn on it. Mike Maddox out to say something to Keone Keller. Give the young right-hander a little bit of time to breathe. Roman Mendez, who was up earlier, now up and throwing here in the 7th. Two and 0 to Ibar. A little tapper foul down the first base side. It's 2-1. The Angels in their 2-0 win over Oakland yesterday, just one hit. It was a 2-run home run by Cole Calhoun. Tonight, David Freese, a 2-run home run in the 7th to give the Angels a 1-run lead. Good breaking ball into Ibar to even the count at 2-2. Full count. Now Ibar trying to get aboard with 2 outs. C.J. Cron, the DH, who is 3 for 3 tonight, waits to be next. Pulled on the ground to Moreland. Mitch will take it to the bag himself, and that will do it. But the Angels come back with a big 2-run home run from David Freese. They get 2 runs on 2 hits. We're going to the 8th. It's now 3-2 Angels. Smith is coming out of the Angel bullpen to take over for Garrett Richards. Our progressive upcoming schedule. We'll take a look at what's going on with the Rangers. They finish off this series on Sunday afternoon after a Saturday night game tomorrow night against the Angels. Then it's back home, 3 with the Mariners, an off day on Thursday. And then Oakland comes in to begin the month of May with 3 over the next weekend. And it's on the road again to Houston and Tampa Bay. But some unfinished business here in Anaheim. Angels have taken a 3-2 lead. Joe Smith has come on. He's appearing in his 7th ball game.
And we saw Joe Smith. Well, we've seen him a lot when he was in Cleveland and saw him in the series in Texas. And he was throwing the ball extremely well in that series in Texas. In fact, on the season, he's thrown 6 innings, hasn't given up a run. He's only walked a couple and struck out 9. You know, he's kind of got that power sidearm delivery. And he is tough to hit.
Dealing to Jake Smolinski to start things off. The numbers 8, 9, and 1 hitters here in the Ranger 8th inning. Rangers now trailing 3-2. Smolinski 0 for 2 in his career against Joe Smith. Now down to the count, 0-2. Jake tonight has walked and scored. Fly to right field, 0 for 1 officially. Big breaking ball, strike 3 call.
That is a tough pitch to hit if it's a strike. That slider looked like a frisbee. It looked like it starts down inside, just comes across the very bottom of the strike zone. Good luck trying to hit that thing.
Yeah.
That ball was inside until right at the end. It caught the lower inside part of the strike zone.
Skag pitch tracker showing you how difficult that location is.
I don't think a right-hand hitter would ever get a base hit on that pitch.
You know, you could tell somebody that's coming, and still the ball has to look like it's starting right at you.
When it's inside down there, there's no way you could hit it. You just wouldn't believe it could come back and catch a strike zone. I think most hitters wouldn't believe it was a strike anyway.
Carlos Corcoran with a count of 1-1 strike. Carlos also has scored when he walked back in the third inning. Last time up, grounded out to second. One ball, 2 strikes. Problem with facing a guy like Smith is you don't see him every single game, and you only see him for one at bat. And it's real difficult, I would think, especially after facing a guy like Garrett Richards, who throws extremely hard from an entirely different arm angle, to get locked in with a guy like Smith.
Yeah, there's just not many guys that throw like this. There's a handful of guys that come from way down there and throw that sinking fastball with that kind of sweeping slider. Just not many guys. And he makes good pitches, too. It's not like he's giving the pitches right down the middle to hit. Tonight, there had been a thing above the knees.
Well, Joyce makes the catch, 2 gone before Leonis Martin. Let's send it back to John Radigan with the Mazda game break. All right, John, thank you. King Felix putting together back-to-back gems, you would have to say, against the Rangers. He pitched as well as we've seen him pitch in a while. Had 12 strikeouts in 7 innings. Leonis Martin tonight, 0 for 2 with the sacrifice bunt. Pops this one up. Long run for Ibar into foul territory, and the Angels shortstop gets there, and Joe Smith works a 1-2-3-8. Rangers gone after 7.5. It's the Angels 3 and the Rangers 2 on Fox Sports Southwest. Dominican Republic comes out of the Ranger bullpen to take over at AT&T. Uverse would like to remind you we're right back here tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Colby Lewis on the hill for the Rangers, 1-1 with a 379 to be taking on Mike Trout and the Angels. Trout, of course, the 2014 unanimous American League MVP. 8 o'clock tomorrow night, Central Time. Angels and Rangers. And Roman Mendez in his 8th ball game of the year, a 2.57 ERA, with the opponents hitting at an even 200. He's facing C.J. Cron, who is 3 for 3 tonight. Cron, a couple of singles, a double. He scored the first Angel run back in the 4th inning. off the glove of Carlos Corcoran. And the count evens. And a ball and a strike. Cron now has raised that average up to 214 with the 3-for-3 night. And 60 points better than what he started at. Couldn't stop his swing on that sharp breaking ball. 1-2. Cron, a very small sample against Roman Mendez. 0 for 2. Now he's going to be 0 for 3 with that strikeout. And that's how the bottom of the 8th begins for Mendez.
A couple of great sliders that he got Cron to chase. They looked good enough to make him swing, but they were so far away from him, there's no way he could hit him.
So 1 out. Here is Matt Joyce. Joyce came on as a pinch hitter for Colin Cowgill in the 6th inning and struck out. That extended his hitless streak to 20 straight. And that ties his career longest. 1 ball, no strikes. Joyce has had 1 at bat against Mendez, and Roman got him to pop out. A 1-0 pitch. A ball and a strike. Mendez burst onto the scene last year with the Rangers in 30 games. Big right-hander was 0-1 with a 2.18 ERA. But got progressively better as the year wore on. Ended up working 33 innings. Two and 1. Mendez originally, of course, in the Red Sox organization. To left field, Smolinski trots in, and Matt Joyce 0 for 2 tonight, 0 for 21. And that is a new career low for Matt Joyce. Folks, follow the Rangers all season in 2015 with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At bat is up to the moment, any moment, with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, statcasts, and more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet. Here's Chris Iannetta. Iannetta 0 for 2 with a sacrifice fly. He has struck out the 2 times that he has not put the ball in play. High in the air to left. Smolinski started back. Now comes back in a couple of steps. Makes the catch. And the Angels are gone. 1-2-3 fashion. We have finished 8 in Anaheim. Rangers have 1 more shot. They'll take it against Houston Street, trailing 3-2. Texas Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by your Texas Ford dealers. The EcoBoost Challenge is on at your Texas Ford dealer. Get to your best in Texas Ford dealer today. Well, the ninth inning has arrived here at Angel Stadium, and the Angels leading the Rangers 3-2, and that means they will turn the ball game over to their outstanding closer, Houston Street.
Well, Houston Street is off to a pretty nice start. He's pitched 5 times. He's had 5 saves, 5 innings, hasn't walked anybody, hasn't given up a run, struck out 7, and with an .063 opponent's batting average, he hasn't given up many hits either.
The 31-year-old from Austin, Longhorn pitcher, on now to face the heart of the Ranger order. Mitch Moreland, Prince Fielder, and Adrian Beltre. Rangers trying to put at least a run on the board to tie this thing up. They trail 3-2. Moreland tonight is 0 for 2, but he does have an RBI. Walked his first time. And Street pumps in strike 1 as Moreland swings through it.
Trying to think of another closer that resembles Houston Street, at least the Houston Street that's pitching right now. He threw a little harder than this when he first came up, but a closer with an 88-mile-an-hour fastball. Obviously, he's got deception and other pitches to go along with it, like that.
Yep.
Change up and a breaking ball, but he's not what you would call a dominating guy with his fastball. But you look at the numbers, and the overall result's pretty dominating.
I think the one guy that I can kind of put in that category was Dennis Eckersley, as he was working with the A's. Now he's a guy that, as a starter, threw a lot harder.
Yeah.
But I think once he got into it, once Eck got going, he had the same kind of stuff. He just his control was so pinpoint with both fastball and slider was pretty tough.
Sure was.
And Street, when he is on, I think is the same way. He may have an extra pitch that Eckersley didn't have. Mitch Moreland, though, down in the count now, a ball and 2 strikes. Got him swinging.
Well, when you've got that kind of a changeup, it doesn't matter whether you're throwing 88 or 98. The change of speed is enough to throw the hitter off.
Here's Prince Fielder. Fielder tonight, 2 for 3. Well, another multi-hit game for Prince. That's his 10th multiple hit game in the Rangers' first 17. That's swinging the bat and getting some results early. Had his 10th RBI back in the 3rd inning on an infield single. 0-1 pitch. A ball and a strike. They're the multi-hit leaders in the American League. Fielder 2 more than Josh Donaldson of the Blue Jays. Salvador Perez with 7 of them. Back to the screen very quickly. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Fastball out over the plate. Prince had a home run swing at it.
Yeah, Prince wasn't just trying to get on base. He was trying to circle the bases.
Rangers need a run. They haven't put a lot of rallies together. They're trying to have a one-man rally.
Jeff Bannister, not much a manager can do right here with the big guys up and 1 run down. Got underneath it, and Mike Trout, jogging in from his center field position, makes the catch. That is out number 2, and it'll be up to Adrian Beltre if the Rangers are to make some noise here in the 9th inning. Beltre has the most at-bats of anybody on the Ranger ball club against Street. He has gone 4 for 15. That's a .267 mark. Tonight, 0 for 3. He has grounded out twice, once into a double play and popped out. One ball, no strikes. Street came over to the Angels last July. Trade with San Diego. Pretty much finished off the rebuilding program for the Angels had for their bullpen. Bullpen had been a disaster a couple of years before, but they rebuilt that bullpen, and Street was kind of the crowning piece, the keystone out there.
How many home runs did they hit off Ernesto Frieri? He did not want to face Nelly Cruz.
No.
Boy.
He didn't want to face the Rangers. Every time the Rangers walked in the ballpark, he got a crick in his neck for turning around so fast.
Those were home runs that weren't catching the back of the wall either. They were gone the second they made contact with a bat.
Well, 3-0 to Beltre. Jeff Bannister hoping maybe Beltre can get into one here. 3-1. If Adrian prolongs this ninth inning, Shin-Soo Choo waits to be next. Just a bit low, ball 4, and that puts the tying run aboard with Choo coming up. So Street showing some respect for Adrian Beltre on that 3-1 pitch. Even though he represents the tying run, took the chance of putting him on base. Now Adrian's going to be pinch run for. Delino DeShields coming off the Ranger bench, and that element of speed that Delino has for the Rangers. He represents that tying run at first. We'll see if he can get a jump and get himself into scoring position. So Choo at the plate, DeShields at first. Choo tonight 0 for 3. He's grounded out twice and struck out. DeShields a pretty good lead at first, and Street's pitch is outside for ball 1. Iannetta out to have a chat with his veteran right-hander. Street last year had a total of 14 walks. 3 of those were intentional in 60 innings. He's not exactly a walk machine out there. But he's given the Rangers an opening. A walk to Beltre, now DeShields running at first. 1-0 the count to Choo. There goes DeShields. The pitch is a strike. The throw to second is into center field. DeShields doesn't know where it is. Now he's up. He's going to third, and the throw is late from Trout.
Not many guys could leave that late and make it so easily. He got up and he was flying. Trout threw it. You know, maybe you catch a break. It takes a short hop, hits the runner, rolls down the line, you end up scoring on that play.
Well, Delino with his second stolen base as a Ranger.
He doesn't know where it is. Not many guys would even attempt to go right there. I don't think Trout thought he was going. Well, that's how it stopped at second.
Yeah. Now what DeShields has done is put the wild pitch pass ball in play. Choo can bring him home with an infield single. It's going to take a base hit or something that gets by Iannetta. 1-1 the count. Now 2-1 as that pitch just floating off the outer edge. Looks like a changeup. Choo has had 4 at-bats against Street. He's got the tying run down there at third base and 2 outs. Skag pitch tracker showing you that last one. Not very close. Low and inside. 3 balls and a strike. And now the pressure really on Chris Iannetta, the catcher. Make sure he blocks everything. And Mike Scioscia, a former catcher himself, understands what his backstop has to go through. So Jeff Bannister, a former catcher, and could tell you that's when you're in your keep back there. If Chu is able to get aboard, Elvis Andrus, Rangers shortstop, he's swinging a bat in the on-deck circle. Street out of the line, the 3-1 pitch. Inside, ball 4, and that will bring up Elvis with an opportunity to at least tie the ball game with an extra base hit, maybe get the Rangers on top. So back-to-back walks here in the 9th inning by Houston Street. Elvis doubled back in the 2nd inning. Is 1 for 3. And we're going to have a pinch runner for Shin-Soo Choo at first. It'll be Adam Rosales coming off the bench to pinch run. Inside corner, strike 1 to Elvis.
I usually like to see a nice little line drive right down the right field line, roll it into the corner. See if Adam can score all the way from first base.
Stag pit tracker showing you that bottom inside corner. The 0-1. Now Elvis going to have to battle. Down to the count, 0-2. Angel fans on their feet here at Angel Stadium, Houston Street. Trying to lock it up for the hometown team. Rangers trying to give him some indigestion. The Shields and Rosales at 3rd and 1st. 0-2 the count to Elvis. Now 1-2. And again, Iannetta making sure that ball was not going to get by him. Elvis struggling with runners in scoring positions, been well chronicled. Just 2 for 19 this year. He has the most at-bats on the ball club in these situations. To Shields, the tying run at 3rd. The go-ahead run at 1st. Adam Rosales, Houston Street ready. Pop foul, will try it again, and a ball and 2 strikes. Elvis with a 1 hit tonight now has upped his batting average to close to 200. He's at 194. Houston Street about ready to throw his 23rd pitch of this 9th inning. He's thrown 11 balls and 11 strikes. Elvis trying to do some damage. Swung on and foul tip. Crowd had a mild coronary as that ball got by Iannetta.
Yeah, they thought he struck out, and then it's, oh no, the ball got by the catcher. There was a big roar when he swung. Just barely, he ticked that right off the end of the bat, just barely got a piece of it. He's still hanging in there.
Street back up on top. Elvis back in the batter's box. 1 ball, 2 strikes. In the dirt. Nice stop by Iannetta again. 2-2. And the Shields, a pinch runner, stole 2nd, went to 3rd on the throwing error. Rosales took over after Shin-Soo Choo walked. Adam now at first base. Trying to bring him home, Elvis Andrus. 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs. A 3-2 Angel lead. Rangers trying to come back in this ball game. Street to the plate.
He's going out of his way not to give Elvis a good pitch to hit. And that's what he has to do. Stuff is not overpowering. He depends on deception, change of speeds, good location with his pitches. If he's missing, he's going to miss away from the middle of the plate. He has to throw 25 to 30 pitches to get it done. That's what he's going to try to do. Elvis going to try to spoil it for him right here. 26th pitch coming up.
Iannetta flashing the signs out. Street reading them. Right-hander picks out one he wants. Another 2-2. Rosales on the move. Pitch is grounded to third. Cut off by Freese, who fires to first, and the Angels win it. Well, the Rangers get the tying and go-ahead runs aboard in the bottom of the ninth, but David Freese able to cut off a sharply hit ground ball and throw out Elvis Andrus. And that is how the game goes in the books here in Anaheim. So a 3-2 final as the Angels come back to defeat the Rangers in the first game of this three-game set.
The last ground ball, Buzz, looked like a routine ground ball off the bat. But right as it gets to Freese, it takes a hop. And Freese does a nice job reacting to that hop to catch it. And then, of course, he turns it into an easy out. But what looked like a routine play was a little bit more than that. He made a nice play, hit the home run to win the game, and he made a nice play to end the game.
Well, the Angels win this ball game 3-2. We'll be back to Angel Stadium to wrap things up right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.